Have you ever wondered why certain actions are considered right or wrong? Why do we instinctively feel that some things are just, while others are unjust? These questions have puzzled humanity for centuries, leading us to explore the nature of morality itself. Why do we feel obligated to help those in need or condemn acts of cruelty? Is it simply a matter of personal preference, or is there something more profound at play? When we see someone in distress, why do we feel a pull to assist them, even if it means sacrificing our own comfort? These questions point to the existence of moral values and duties. They suggest that there are standards of right and wrong that transcend individual opinions and cultural norms. But what exactly are these standards and where do they come from? But where do these values come from? Are they ingrained in us through evolution, or are they imparted by a higher power? Philosophers and theologians have debated this for millennia, each offering different perspectives on the origins of our moral compass. Are they merely subjective preferences, or do they point to something deeper, something beyond ourselves? If moral values are subjective, then they can change based on personal whims or societal trends. But if they are objective, they remain constant, regardless of human opinion. Ever wondered about life's big questions? At Dialectic Diaries, we explore faith, reason, and everything in between. Subscribe now, challenge your beliefs, expand your mind. Objective moral values and duties refer to moral truths that are independent of human opinion or cultural norms. They are principles that hold true universally, providing a foundation for ethical behavior that is not swayed by personal biases or societal changes. They are true, regardless of whether anyone believes them. Just as the laws of physics govern the natural world, objective moral values govern our ethical landscape. They exist as a moral law that we are all bound to follow, whether we acknowledge it or not. For example, the statement, "It is wrong to torture babies for fun," is objectively true, regardless of whether a particular culture or individual agrees. This moral truth stands firm, illustrating the inherent value of human life and the intrinsic wrongness of causing unnecessary suffering. These objective moral values are not just abstract concepts, they translate into duties, obligations that we have towards one another. They guide our actions and inform our decisions, compelling us to act in ways that uphold the dignity and well-being of others. We have a duty to be truthful, to keep our promises, and to treat others with respect, not because these actions are convenient or personally beneficial, but because they are objectively right. These duties form the bedrock of a just and harmonious society, fostering trust and cooperation among individuals. The existence of these objective moral values and duties is a powerful indicator that there is more to reality than just the physical world. It suggests that there is a moral dimension to our existence, one that transcends the material and points to a higher order of truth. It suggests a moral dimension, a realm of right and wrong that transcends our subjective opinions. This realm provides a universal standard by which we can measure our actions, offering a sense of direction and purpose in our moral journey. This is where the moral argument for God's existence comes into play. If objective moral values and duties exist, then it is reasonable to believe that they are grounded in a moral lawgiver, a being who embodies the ultimate standard of goodness and justice. This argument invites us to consider the possibility that our moral intuitions are not just random byproducts of evolution, but reflections of a deeper, divine reality. The moral argument presents a compelling case for the existence of God based on the reality of objective moral values and duties. These values and duties are not just social constructs or personal preferences, but are seen as binding and universally applicable. They transcend human opinions and cultural differences, suggesting a higher source from which they originate. It suggests that the best explanation for the existence of these values is the existence of a moral lawgiver, a being who is the ultimate source of morality. This being is often identified as God, who provides the foundation for these objective moral standards, a being who is the ultimate source of morality. Without such a being, it becomes difficult to account for why certain actions are universally right or wrong, regardless of human opinion. The argument can be summarized in two premises and a conclusion. Premise 1, if God does not exist, objective moral values and duties do not exist. This means that without a divine being, moral values would be subjective and relative, varying from person to person or culture to culture. Premise 1. If God does not exist, objective moral values and duties do not exist.
Premise 2, objective moral values and duties do exist. This premise is supported by our common experience and intuition that certain things are objectively right or wrong. Premise 2, objective moral values and duties do exist. Conclusion, therefore, God exists. This conclusion follows logically from the two premises, suggesting that the existence of God is the best explanation for the reality of objective moral values. This argument is not saying that atheists cannot be moral. Many atheists live morally exemplary lives. However, the argument posits that without belief in God, there is no ultimate foundation for why something is morally right or wrong. It simply argues that without God, there is no ultimate foundation for morality. Without a divine lawgiver, moral values would be based on human conventions, which can change over time and vary between cultures. If there is no God, then our sense of right and wrong is ultimately a product of evolution or social conditioning, not grounded in any objective reality. This means that our moral beliefs could be different if we had evolved differently or been raised in a different society, not grounded in any objective reality. The moral argument thus challenges us to consider the source of our moral convictions and whether they point to a reality beyond the natural world. The moral argument posits that God is the best explanation for the existence of objective moral values. God, as understood in many monotheistic traditions, is a being who is perfectly good and the source of all being. As such, he is the ultimate standard of morality. Just as a lawmaker creates laws for a society, God, as the divine lawgiver, establishes the moral law for the universe. This moral law is not arbitrary but reflects God's own perfect nature. It is an expression of His holiness, justice, and love. By grounding morality in God, the moral argument offers a firm foundation for our moral intuitions. It explains why certain actions are objectively wrong, not just because they cause suffering or violate social norms, but because they are contrary to the character of God.
Section 4. Experiencing morality. Evidence for objective moral values. The moral argument is not just a philosophical abstraction, it resonates with our everyday experiences. When we talk about morality, we are not merely engaging in theoretical debates. Instead, we are touching upon something deeply ingrained in the human experience. Our daily lives are filled with moments that reflect our moral compass, whether it's a simple act of kindness or a profound ethical dilemma. We all have an innate sense of right and wrong. This sense is not taught but rather felt deeply within us. From a young age, we can distinguish between actions that are fair and those that are unjust. This intrinsic understanding guides our behavior and shapes our interactions with others. We experience guilt when we violate our conscience. This feeling of guilt is more than just an emotional response. It is a recognition that we have strayed from a moral path. It serves as an internal alarm, reminding us of the standards we hold ourselves to and the values we cherish. And feel indignation when we see injustice. This indignation is a powerful reaction that compels us to act, to speak out against wrongs, and to seek justice. It is a testament to our shared humanity and our collective commitment to upholding moral principles. These moral experiences are not merely subjective feelings. They point to an objective moral order. They suggest that there are universal truths about right and wrong that transcend individual preferences and cultural differences. This objective moral order provides a foundation for our ethical beliefs and actions. A child who is being bullied does not simply feel bad, she knows she is being wronged. This knowledge is not based on personal opinion, but on an inherent understanding of fairness and justice. It highlights the existence of moral truths that are recognized universally, regardless of age or background. A man who risks his life to save a stranger is not simply acting on a whim. He is responding to a deep-seated moral obligation. This sense of duty to help others, even at great personal risk, underscores the presence of objective moral values that guide our actions in critical moments. These universal moral experiences, evident across cultures and throughout history, provide compelling evidence for the existence of objective moral values. They show that despite our differences, there are common ethical principles that bind us together as a global community. They suggest that morality is not something we invent, but something we discover, something that is woven into the fabric of reality. This discovery process is a journey that reveals the profound interconnectedness of all human beings and the moral framework that underpins our existence.
Section 5. Moral realism, the reality of right and wrong. The moral argument aligns with a philosophical position known as moral realism. Moral realism asserts that moral statements are objectively true or false, just like statements about the physical world. For example, the statement "murder is wrong" is not merely an expression of personal preference, but a statement of fact. It is true regardless of whether anyone believes it or not. Moral realism provides a robust framework for understanding the nature of morality. It affirms the existence of moral facts that are independent of human opinion. These moral facts, according to the moral argument, are grounded in the character and commands of God.